ArtSpark Texas presents a community conversation with Glenn Towery.
Welcome to Community Conversations, and we're here with Artist of the Month for the month of February, Glenn Towery. Thank you for coming, Glenn.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really great to have you. And Glenn is a veteran, an artist, an advocate, a filmmaker, an actor. Are you also a musician?
Yes, I'm a
Okay.
musician too.
Okay, so a real Renaissance man for sure. Anyway, April, who knows Glenn very well, is going to give probably a little more detailed introduction of Glenn, and then Glenn's going to tell us what he's doing these days. We're going to look at some film clips, maybe hear a little bit about your life. So I
Thank you.
give the floor to April for an introduction, and I'm going to go on mute.
All right, thanks, Susan. So we wrote our Artist of the Month blog was about Glenn, and if you read that goes into some pretty good detail about his life as a creative person, starting with acting and moving into visual art. And one thing we didn't talk a lot about was your film career, filmmaking and screenplay writing. So that's what I'd like to start with today, is focusing on that. You sent me a few clips. It looks like a trailer for your, tell me the name of it, Starfunk?
Yeah, Starfunk and the Astral Pioneers.
Yes, I want to hear more about that, because I know you've been working on that for quite some time and have won some awards, I think, with it. And it's not even made into a film yet, right? This is all just kind of the jumping off point for it. So tell us about Starfunk.
Well, those people that know me know that I always try to do the toughest thing that anybody can do. I don't know, that's part of my legacy as a person. So this film is, in the industry tried to produce Starfunk and the Astral Pioneers, it would probably spend $100 million. But I think I can do this movie and make it just as good for 1/10 of that, probably 1% of that. But I got a lot of ideas, because my whole thing about films and filmmaking is it all comes down, I don't care, you can have all of the gizmos, special effects and everything, but it all comes down to two things. It comes down to story and it comes down to performance. And I'm really big on that. If you don't have a good story and you don't have a good performance, you don't have a good movie. It's just as simple as that. But if you, and even if you have the most fantastic special effects, but you have a lousy story, and lousy acting, you still don't have anything. But a great story and great performance always rules. And that is what I'm hanging my hat on with Starfunk and the Astral Pioneers. I wrote Starfunk and the Astral Pioneers about 18 years ago. Back in the 1980s, I was a card-carrying funketeer. I love funk music. Some funk would come on, I would just start boogieing, And my love of funk was not only the music, but the legend of funk. And the legend of funk was this mysterious outer space mythology. And I bought into that fully. And once I did, my mind started reeling. I bought into the concept of the mythology, but I didn't like the characters and stuff that the mythology had. So I created my own. And then the next thing, one thing went from another, from a story, and then the story went to a screenplay, because I'm a screenplay writer. So now I've won several screenplay awards. I think it's time to make this movie. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm kicking off on my birthday, May 15th this year, a Kickstarter. And the Kickstarter is all or nothing. So, I really want to raise $1 million. but I'm going for 40,000. But I'm telling the audience, it would be great if I could raise $1 million, because if I raise 40, I can do special effects for a proof of concept, which is a much shorter film that would show people what I can do as a director and what the story could, the kind of impact it could have in terms of an audience. But if I could do more, then I could actually do $1 million. I could do all the pre-production for this film. And that would be fantastic.
So you said
That's
you
my
wrote it,
dream, is to do this film.
you wrote it about 18 years ago, you said?
Yes.
And have you done any updates to it? Have you found that it's pretty much stayed kind of fresh for today's movie going audience?
I did some updates to it about 4 years ago. I realized that I had to change the concept a little bit. So I went in and I did some adjustments to it, and I trimmed it down because it was coming in at about 139 pages, and I trimmed it to about 122, which some people say is still kind of long, but I think it's perfect, just right. And you know, a lot of times what happens in these films, when you produce them, they change while they're in production. You know, actors change lines, you improv stuff, you know, people on the set come up with great ideas. You find ways to shorten, you know, to which I've done before as a director. You know, you find shortcuts to then you say, oh, I didn't need all of this. All I really needed was this, and that works, and let's move on. So this film is at the point now, the screenplay is at the point now where it really needs to be put up. There, you get to a certain point when you're writing that there's only so much you can do. Much of the discovery is going to come through what we call the process. So even though you go into a motion picture well armed, with very concise planning as to what you're going to shoot day to day, things change even in that format, because you see something, and like if I'm directing, especially, I see something and I'm going, hold the presses. This is what we're going to do. And to me, that's what brings the magic in filmmaking, having that ability. I went to school at Columbia College, Hollywood, and when I got in school, I was so engrossed with filmmaking that I lived and breathed every class that I took, every class. And I, of course, I had to take my math and all the rest of the stuff too. But, you know, when I was in my writing courses, when I was actually shooting projects and working, I mean, I did everything on the set, from sweeping the floor to directing. I worked my way up from a sweeper to a director. And I loved sweeping the floor as much as I loved directing. I just wanted to be there. And fortunate for me, I actually graduated the first African American valedictorian of my college.
Wow.
And I did, I think, a great undergraduate project called The Frequency, which has won awards. And I loved doing that, shooting that film. I shot it, I directed it, and I was so afraid I might lose my lead actor, that I actually played the lead role, because I knew I wasn't going to lose me. When you're doing the nightmare scenario when you're doing a student film is that you lose your lead or you lose an actor in the middle of the shoot. And I saw that happen. I said, I'm casting myself because I won't have to worry about that. But Starfunk and the Astro Pioneers is special. I've written a lot of things, but you know, to me, the script, a lot of what's happening here on Earth, even though it happens in another part of the universe, or from people from another planet with a whole nother different type of civilization with different rules, a lot of it uncannily applies to us right here on Earth. I guess that's because I couldn't escape the bounds of Earth as a writer. You know, I had to write everything within the parameters of my culture, and now I'm being affected with it here on Earth, even though I was trying to make it out there something else. So I'm really looking forward to producing this film. My plate is overloaded. While I'm doing this, I'm doing AvaFest again, but it's going to be less complicated because it's going to be totally online this year, and we're not going to be able to do all of the components that we did the last time. So we're concentrated mostly on just entertainment and exhibits. And once we get past the pandemic, we'll start trying to broaden our perspective again. I'm also became the executive director of the Spectrum Theater Company. My good friend, Dr. Billy Hardin, he passed away in 2018, and the theater was struggling. I could see that. And I thought, man, I'm doing so many things, but I can't let this go down. It's the only Black theater in the city of Austin. So once again, I opened my mouth and I said to them, do you need a executive director to keep things going? And they didn't really know anything about me. So they said, well, let us get back to you. And I guess they went and did some research, found out my theater background. And about 2 months later, I get a phone call. I'm thinking, okay, they found somebody else. And I get a phone call saying, we want you as our executive director. I'm like, okay, I had made other plans because I thought you didn't want me. But since you do, let's do this. Dr. Hardin, I was blessed to be able to get to know this icon of Austin. I saw him using money from his own pocket, a bus full of kids to Google, to learn, to study with stars that he had gotten lined up. These kids are from the hood. And I know when they came out of there, their lives were changed. And I thought, wow, what a powerful thing to do in the community. So I just couldn't see that disappear. So we've been working. We just got through doing The People Could Fly. If you get a chance, come and see it online. It's a Zoom show. People seem to be enjoying it. The last show we did, we got over 300 views. And I adapted that play because, you know, I love to write, from Virginia Hamilton's tale called The People Could Fly. What Virginia Hamilton did was she went and she found a bunch of old African tales that were told by the slaves back 300-400 years ago while they were in captivity. And she resurrected these stories. So what I did was I took what she resurrected and adapted it into a play and gave it characters. And it's really kind of fascinating. The actors love it and the audiences seem to love it. So what we're doing now is we're moving forward, and we're getting an artistic director now, and that's going to take a lot of pressure off of me. And I told them that I've got these other things coming up, but no one seems to care. They're like, we got your back, we got it covered, we just want you with us. So I'm going to stay.
That's great.
It's great. Okay. So, but getting back to Starfunk and Astro Pioneers, I like to think that if I can produce, that this film could be the key to me being able to do everything that I would like to do. I love helping people. But one thing I've learned, and why I'm starting to put a lot more emphasis, is that it takes money. It takes money to help others. I mean, I don't want to be rich for me. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to, I feel rich already. I mean, I have everything that I want. I have a nice home. If there's a car I want to get, I can go get it. I can pay my bills. I mean, and I like to think, I say, well, what more is there to being rich than that? Being able to do those kind of things. But I would like to be able to help people. I get off on that. That helps me with my PTSD, because when I'm helping other people, I'm not into my own, I'm not wallowing in my own misery. I'm thinking about somebody else. That's very therapeutic for me. And that's why I do it.
Totally get that.
And I think a lot of the people here do get that, because I think, like Celia, I know a little bit about your story, the part that you shared with me. And I think that that's a big motivating factor for you. And for probably for all of you to some extent. We all are doing the same thing by helping others somehow. In that process, we help ourselves. Isn't God great?
Definitely.
Okay, you want me to show this 2-minute Kickstarter video for Starfunk?
Yes, I hope you like it. Go ahead and show it.
Let's see. Oops, maybe it's- See if it does the sound. I don't know if I was answering questions wrong on that.
Ooh, you're showing the biggie.
Can you hear it?
It's,
Find us, and we'll be in the theater. DVD soon.
there it is. So you couldn't hear the sound that well, but I hope that that you all have provided the link, and so you'll be able to see it in my Kickstarter. The Impossible Kickstarter is going to be starting on May 15th, which is my birthday. And we're going to go for it. We're going to try to raise as much money as we can. I don't know if you saw the graphics that are there. Those are created from storyboards from the film. Yeah, I have a full set of color storyboards that progress to tell the story. So I had them in black and white for a while, and I was like, this just isn't dynamic enough. So
Who drew
I
those?
called the guy up and I said, you got to do this in color. And you really, Celia, this is someone that I would really like for you to meet because he is a fantastic storyboard artist. And there are not many people who teach that. He lives in Austin, and his name is Douglas Brown. And I had asked him if he would be interested in teaching, and he said, "Well," I said, "I don't know, but if somebody offered me, I think I would consider it." So it's a process. It's filmmaking thing.
So Glenn, I want to know why. I know you like to make the impossible possible. So why are you doing a Kickstarter campaign? Because if you don't hit your goal, you don't get any of the money.
I know, and it seems to me, and I've studied this, the all or nothing format, it it can kill your dreams or it can make them.
Right.
I think what it is, why people fund the Kickstarter, is the fact that they know it's all or nothing.
Okay.
Kickstarter keeps it that way for a reason.
Okay.
It's because I think, and I'm kind of a daredevil anyway, but it's because they want to make sure that you're genuine.
Right. Okay.
The genuine people, and I hope I'm not eating these words in June 15th. but the genuine people normally succeed, and that's what they're pinning everything on. I know there's more to it than that. I know that there's politics, and I know that there's people that know people, but the thing about a crowdfunder is you have to do the work. A crowdfunder isn't just you put the project up and then pray that people come to it. You have to do work before that date. You have to go out, reach out to people. You have to marshal your troops. You have to get people to buy into what you're doing and say, you know what, I'm going to call my auntie in Florida and tell her to call my uncle because I want to see you make this. I want to see you succeed. It's all about wanting to see somebody succeed. So, I'm praying that when people see the amount of work, great quality work that's been poured into this project, that they'll want to see this project succeed, that they'll want to see me succeed. My big thing is I want to direct a major motion picture. And I want to make it a blockbuster hit.
Well, if anybody can, you can.
Thank you. I think if I get the opportunity, I can do it.
I remember at one point you had somebody who was going to help with the funding of it. Did that happen or did it fall through because of the wrong timing?
Well, very interesting. So, yeah, I had a friend who was executive producer, and he was going to put up quite a bit of money for me to do a trailer that was going to cost about 114 grand to do, a little 10-minute short. And when he told me, I had already committed to do Ava Fest 2019. And so, it was excruciating in a way because I was torn. I was like, I want to do this so bad. But then I said, I'm committed to veterans for this project. And we had done so much work. We started in 2017. Remember April? Remember Celia? We had done so much work. There was no way that I could walk away and say, no, I'm going to go do a movie now. So I asked him if he would wait. And he told me, he said, Glenn, I got this money and I got to give it. I'm dividing it up between 3 different projects. Yours was one of it. So he said, I can't wait. He said, but maybe when you get through with that, I'll have some money. And so then after we got through with AvaFest, we all were burned out. I was burned out pretty bad too. And then we came into COVID-19, and I hadn't heard from him. I hadn't spoke to him in a while. And then about the late part of 2020, he called me, he said, Glenn, he said, I've been thinking about Star Funk and Astro Pioneers. He said, I'm going to go get some more money for us to do this. I said, really? I said, oh man. I said, I thought I had lost you, on this. And then he said, but we got to get through the pandemic. Then about 6 weeks ago, the phone rings. It's him on my cell phone. I can see. I said, hey, James, how you doing? And it comes a reply, this isn't James, this is his wife. And James asked me, one of the last things he asked me to do was to call you. She said, James is transitioned now. She said, it was a very short list of people that he wanted me to call, but he wanted me to call you. And he told me to tell you not to give up on your project. He can't be here to help you with it. Her name was Carolyn. She's a very sweet lady. She calls me to this day. And she said, I do know the person that he was going to get the money from, and I'm going to call them and see if they're still interested in giving it to you without James. Turns out that they weren't. James, had to be a part of it. But something interesting happened that inspired me to say I wanted to go and do the Kickstarter. While we were talking, it turns out that James and I have the same birthday.
That's strange.
That is so crazy. And when she told me that, I got this inspiration afterwards, and I said to her, I'm going to keep James as a producer, an honorary producer, and I'm going to do a Kickstarter, a crowdfunder, and I'm going to open it up on our birthday, May 15th. So that's why I picked that day to do the Kickstarter. And to me, it's like a lot of people say, well, you may fail in raising the money. But I never think about failure. What I think about is doing. You never lose when you try to do something. Even if you don't actually succeed, and people need to understand that. Success is measured by growth. It's not measured by attainment. People confuse that sometimes. Like with when we did AvaFest, we all grew. We did have a success. We did a very successful event. But had we not done a successful event, we all grew. And so to me, success isn't about attainment. Success is about growth. And so the way I look at it, if I go through this process, if I don't attain what I'm after, I will have grown. I will have grown much more from trying. And I can take humility. As an African American male, I've been humbled all my life. All my life. I can't think of an area in my life that I haven't been affected by being a Black man. That's God's honest truth. But I haven't let that stop me from trying to do anything I wanted to try to do.
All right, well, does anybody have any questions for Glenn? I know we've got Soldier here. Hi, Soldier, and Jordan, and Boy, Sheena.
Well, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to listen, and I feel your genuineness. That's a word.
That's a good word.
And I can't wait to meet you one day and to follow you. And if I hit that lotto or whatever happens, I will be there for you as a supporting another veteran.
But you know, all I ask is when you hear about me doing this crowdfunding for Star Funk and Astro Pioneers, it's like giving me $1 million if you go and tell somebody, hey, you know what, go check out this crowdfunder and you know and give a little something, because I think that this could be something great. To me, every $1 is like $1 million, because it's not about really the money. It's about people, you know, that psychic connection, willing something to happen. We did that with Ava Fest. It's like we had nothing, but we willed it. We believed. And that's all I'm asking people to do is just believe. If you believe with me and give me $1, give me $5, if enough people believe, if enough people give what they can, you know, nobody should strain themselves or anything. But if enough people do that, this project will get made. I have no doubt about it.
Well, I understand if you give and you don't achieve your goal, you don't get it. So does it come back to the person?
Yeah, it comes back to the people that gave it. So it's like
Okay.
what they do at Kickstarter is they hold your they don't, as people are donating, they don't give you that money. They hold it in a pot. They hold it in a pool in an account. And when it gets to that point, you get that money. But people can continue to still give. I've seen projects on Kickstarter that went to raise $50,000, raise $700,000 because people wanted to give to them. And it got into a role. And that's what I'm hopeful, that's what I'm envisioning, that's what I'm hopeful that will happen with Star Funk and the Astro Pioneers, that people will grow to love the concept. The funk music is just, I mean, if you never really listen to it, it is magical stuff. And it can, you know, it can make you move. But what really drives it here is the message, is the story and the message. You know, I'm always do a message. And story. You have another tape that I sent you. Can you play Charles Stroud, the one from Charles Stroud? He's
Yeah.
just talking in there. I don't think there's any music. He sums it up pretty well. Charles Stroud was one of the toughest professors that I had in college. He was really tough. And I told him when I came in his class, I said, I want an A. I'm going to work for an A. And he looked at me and he shrugged me off, you know, but at the end, I got my A.
So it's the originality of the concept and the execution of it in the script that I think makes it a wonderful and unique experience for film goers. At the same time, I recognize it's also the hill that you have to climb in convincing people that it should be made, because everybody wants to know you're going to do the next $1 Million Baby or the next Sideways, when in fact, no, you're doing the only Star Funk and the Astro Pioneers. Always starts with a screenplay. And you have succeeded in developing the screenplay to the point where it is ready to show to people. It is such that actors can relate to those parts. Designers can relate to the production requirements that you call for in the screenplay. And also the originality of the screenplay makes it such that the search for investors, whether it ends up being a studio film or independently produced, is now timely. And but it takes faith in a project, no matter where it's made or who makes it or what the budget level is that the film is made on. And you've succeeded in involving a number of very well qualified specialists in the filmmaking business. And the progress that you've made since you started is impressive. And I think you're at the point where the momentum, the energy behind the project is going to carry it on into financing and production in the near future. The next generation of filmmakers will probably come along and say, oh, we can do this better with Glenn. But until it's done for the first time, you never know how good it's going to be or how bad it's going to be. You just have to have faith in a vision. And you have that, and I think you can expect good results.
That's my logo right there.
Oh, I like it.
You do?
Yeah, I like the
I
logo.
do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's really
My
Let me
production company is Fairy Godbrother Productions. I named it that because when I was a kid, I was raised up in South Central Los Angeles. And I used to go to school with kids that didn't have lunches or didn't have raincoats or had holes in their shoes. And I remember thinking sometimes, man, I wish I was like a fairy godmother and I could like glean and they could have those things, but I was a boy. So I made up this character, Fairy Godbrother, right? And I used to play in my mind or with myself that I actually had these powers and I could do these things. So quite naturally, I guess when I grew up, I decided to create a production company. I remembered that. I said, I'm going to name my production company Fairy Godbrother Productions. And I still have that concept in a production company. I would like to give people that are really good at what they do, but haven't had a chance to shine in my production company. I'd like for it to be that kind of a place. That's the kind of spirit I'd like for it to have.
So I have a quick question. You mentioned that you wanted to direct a major motion picture. My question to you is, if you had a magic wand and you could have anybody in the movie, who would it be and why?
So now that's a very good question. So, all right. So traditionally, the way producers look at film in terms of box office is they want to have a name person.
Right.
And I think that that's important, but I fall back on somebody like George Lucas when he did Star Wars, you know.
I agree. Love George Lucas. Huge Star Wars fan.
Star in his movie. And you know why? Because George Lucas wanted performance. You know,
Oh, I didn't think about that.
sometimes the movie is the star. And if you get the right components in there, the right energy, people that mesh together and belong together in the story, if you can find that magic, you know, those people, it doesn't matter if they have a name or not, because by the time they get through, people walk out the theater, those people will be stars.
That's awesome.
So, but if a producer insisted, which if I was taking studio money, most likely that would happen because people want to ensure that their product is going to be is going to draw an audience. I would look for actors that are well known, but are not hung up on their celebrity. My feeling is I don't want anybody wearing their celebrity in my film.
Oh, okay.
I want them to do the work.
So you would want a Viola Davis, not a Halle Berry.
Viola Davis does the work. Yes, you know, absolutely. And that's very astute of you. Yes, I would love to have a Viola Davis. Are you kidding me? She does the work. You know, not trying to say, I'm not trying to put Halle down, but Halle plays Halle, you know, and I understand the difference. So, but my whole thing is I feel like because I have a theater background, I've seen great plays done by people that nobody knows. Nobody will ever know. Great performances. The cast come together, locked, and they get standing ovations. And when the show is over, everybody goes their own way, and they forget about how great these people were. So I know that's possible on celluloid. So I would, if I'm doing it as an independent film, I would very carefully select cast of people, and then I would work them as an ensemble. They would have to do the work, and I would make certain demands on them that they do the work. I wouldn't even want to make demands. I would just expect them to do the work. If you're a good actor, you know how to do the work. Do the work. And if you're not doing the work, we will all know.
Okay. You're very serious, but thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Jordan, right? Thank you for that question, because, sometimes when you get questions like that, you answer them for yourself. And that was one of those questions that you asked me that I just answered for myself. I pray that I don't have to take studio money. I know that sounds weird, but I would rather have my own money. I would rather have $5 million to do my film my way than $50 million to do it somebody else's way. I know that sounds selfish, but it's not really selfish. It's just that I have a way that I like to do things, and it's filled with faith, understanding, love, and opportunity, for everybody to grow.
So bringing up Viola Davis, of course, makes me think of Spectrum Theater. And so what are your hopes and dreams for the next year for Spectrum? What are you hoping to accomplish? Because they've kind of hung in there, but they're like with the passing of Billy, they took a hard hit, emotionally and physically and everything. So I hope you got somebody to help you with the production managing of the show. They have wings to fly. Is that what
The people could fly.
people could
So
fly?
yeah, I have all of the accoutrements needed for that production. I have a production stage manager. I have good actors. I have a good TD, which
Right.
I shop around trying to find.
Yeah.
I've got 2 TDs now, and I've had to serve as both the writer, director. But that's not, that's not difficult to do. But what we're going to need in the future is more of that. We're going to need more me's. Fortunate for us, we have some great people working in the background. We have we have Danielle Kegler, who is going to be stepping up in a very good position for us, but she's been working in the background doing our social media stuff. We have Tanisha Kopaj. Tanisha's been managing our new website. We have a new website that's gorgeous, by the way, and it's going to look even better coming up. We have Marilyn Stewart, who was Billy's sister. She wasn't really a theater person, but she's learning very, very quickly. She's very adept at what she does. She's running the nonprofit very, very well, and she's learning. And we have a new great board, which I helped to rebuild. We brought on Annie Burridge, who is the executive director of Austin Opera. We brought on Mr. Roosevelt Weeks, who is the director of the Austin Libraries department system. We brought on Mr. Donald Harrell, who is a veteran and has done a few national commercials. And we have Gretchen, I can't think of your last name. Forgive me, Gretchen, but she is marvelous at holding things together and going back and doing the back work. So right now, what we were missing is Danielle was working as my assistant, but I'm trying to move her into another position and then get me another assistant. And we have a nucleus now from which to build.
Yeah.
So in terms of shows, I was able to get a really sweet deal for this year coming, and we purchased 10 short plays, all Black, about iconic people from Black history, and we purchased um, the the airing rights for those plays.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
So
Right.
we're really set to be able to move forward.
Right.
The thing that has been the most difficult is pulling us out of the loss and thinking forward. But I think with this play that we're doing now, I'd like to invite you all to come and see. What we did was I wanted to do something to build morale in our organization. So we did a Zoom run. You know how usually you do in a theater, you do, 10 shows. Well, we did 4 live readings of The People Could Fly. And this is our last reading coming up on February the 28th. February the 28th at 7 p.m. You can either see us on YouTube or you can go to Facebook to our Spectrum Theater and we will be broadcast live. It's not a long show. None of our shows that we're doing are going to be, none of them, the way that I've planned it, will run over 30 minutes. Because, I just think that right now with everything going on, people have short attention spans, rightly so. And we need to honor that and give people, performances in that amount of time.
And was the play that you wrote, did you write that play, or is it based on a slave story passed down, an African myth? What is the story is very, very sweet. It's also got some horror, but I was
Well, being a slave was horror.
I know I wasn't there, but
Yeah, but you can imagine. So Virginia Hamilton, what an amazing woman. I found out about this play. I was doing a play for Spectrum, and Cassandra Noblock, who also taught drama at the University of Texas, came to me and she said, Glenn, she said, I got something I want you to read for our next performance in Wimberley. I was like, oh, really? I said, but I have a monologue. She said, no, she said, I think you should read this. And so I went and bought it. She told me what it was, and I read it, and I was stunned because I read the preface and where the origins of the story. And then when I read what Virginia Hamilton had written, I mean, Shakespeare has nothing on her in terms of the vernacular and how she marshaled these words and captured the period, yet at the same time infused the story with emotion and with realism and with drama, And so I was just infatuated by that. And so I read her and read her and read her, and I said, if I ever get a chance, I would like to adapt this into a play. Little did I know at that time that I would become the executive director of Spectrum Theater. And it's a joy to be that, to work with these young actors and actresses, and up and coming directors, and to kind of be a part of their development as I'm growing too. I mean, I tell them, I said, I'm learning, just like you're learning. I mean, I'm learning too, because my great grandmother taught me something. She said, you always want to stay green. And I said, well, why is that? She said, because the next stage after right is rotten. She said, the minute you think you know everything, you're done. You're done. She said, but as long as you're still learning, that's the ticket, grandson. And I never forgot it. I didn't understand it at the time, but I never forgot it. And then one day, you know, like people tell you something very wise that are very older than you. And then one day I was doing something, I went, oh, it hit me. That's what she meant. So, you know, we're just all of us, you know, we're all growing. What you're doing right now, I think what Art Sparks is doing is so very, very important. You're allowing people to grow. You're allowing people with disabilities to grow. So often those people with disabilities are written off, but not by Art Sparks. You've given them a platform. Not only people with disabilities, but just artists, period, who are often just, you know, forgotten about. So, you know, Picasso, when he started off, he wasn't Picasso. He grew into Picasso. We all have that same ability to grow if given the opportunity. So, getting back to answering your question, so what Virginia Hamilton did was when she learned about these stories, you know, through, I don't know how she learned about them. She went back and she did research, and she went back and she talked to old people. And then she went back and she found old written records, and she pieced the story together to where she could see the beginning, the middle, and the end of the tale that the slaves used to verbally tell to each other, right? These stories. And then she took that and she wrote this wonderful, I mean, this book that she wrote is a coffee table book. If you go look for the book, I can't believe the price of it, because to me, I'd have paid 10 times that for it. But if you go on and look for Virginia Hamilton's The People Could Fly, it's a beautifully illustrated book, you know, that as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's a giveaway at the price that they're giving it. But it's a book you can put on the coffee table. You can read it once a year or once every other month, and you'll discover something new every time.
All right. Well, thanks for being here with us, Glenn. I think our time is up. Hi, Lee.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I could just sit here and listen to this all evening, but I guess we have to go do our other things for the evening.
Yeah.
But thank you again. And I did have one tiny question. It's not even really a question. I guess one reason that you're sticking with the Kickstarter project too is that it's a wider reach.
Yeah, it's a wider reach. More
Yeah.
professional people, filmmakers use that format, and it's and I don't feel intimidated by it at all. Like I tell you, like I said, even if my project doesn't go forward, it will reach so many more people being there on Kickstarter. And believe me, I'm the kind of person that if I don't succeed this time, I'll be back.
Yeah. Retool it, try it again. No, I have friends that have financed small films through GoFundMe, but my feeling was that Kickstarter might have been better, you know, for wider reach to get more for their project, but whatever. So.
But I also think your notion that it puts pressure on and people want you to make it, because I know that. I mean, I'll donate to people's Kickstarter when they're right at the edge, and it's like, okay, I want to put them over the edge so they get their money, you know. So there is that kind of excitement that sort of builds around it.
Yeah.
Yes, there is, and it's going to be very exciting for me. You know, attempting this. I don't know what to expect, but I know I'm going to have a great time, and whatever happens. And but in my mind, I've already won. You know, I see myself doing my movie, period. I see
Hey,
myself doing it, you know.
vision,
You will.
the vision is good. Yeah. So, well, keep us in the loop, Glenn. I'm sure you will, so
I
that
will.
we can support you.
Okay, thank you so much, Susan. I hope that you will support me. You know, just spread the word, you know, and give me a quarter or whatever, and this'll happen, because that's how things happen. I mean, a lake isn't built by a big deluge of water coming out the sky. They're little drops, you know, and they all come together, you know, and then they make this wonderful thing called a lake, and then somehow fish appear in it and all of that. But you know what I mean? Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so proud to be anybody's artist of the month, because there's so many powerful artists especially in Austin. Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, so just to be selected for this, for me, is a tremendous honor. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you to our Arts Park Texas funders: Texas Commission on the Arts, St. David's Foundation, Cultural Arts City of Austin Economic Development, National Endowment for the Arts, Creative Forces, Austin Public Library, Donald D. Hamill Foundation.